Have you ever thought of having a second brain? One that remember everything for you, every meeting you've ever been to, every project you ever worked on, and instantly recall those information as your request. I used to struggle with this. Then I built this AI-powered second brain, which can remember every project I've been worked on, every meeting I've been to, and instantly recall this information. In this video, I will show you how to build an AI-powered second brain for yourself or for your client. I'll take you through step-by-step build process using Anitin. By the end of this video, you know how to build your own AI-powered second brain. You'll learn how to automate knowledge storage so the information is always accurate, and then build an AI agent on top of it so that you can recall those information when you like. Before we deep dive into step-by-step build, let me show you how the system actually works. The systems I want to demonstrate today. The system is divided into two main parts. The first one is the knowledge storage section. This is where we actually put a document or project file or meeting transcript. You put it into Google Drive. It will automatically decide what type of file that is, and then based on that, it will take a path. If it is a PDF, it will take a path. If it is a Google Doc, it will take a different path. It will extract the information and feed that into our vector database. The second file of the system is this your AI agent and ask any question. So I download a PDF which talks about different carbon projects. So let's ask about that. Tell me the AI agent goes to the vector database and retrieve the information already requested, and you can see, it does actually give me information about the carbon project. It's a very basic AI agent. It's got a chat model in there. I think it's for the 4 mini window buffer memory, and also it's got access to the tool which is the vector database, and that's why every time you ask a question, the AI agent will be able to go to the vector database and get the relevant information for us. This is all what you're going to need to build this system. First of all, you don't have to be a coder. I'm not a coder. And what you need is basically Anitin, Quadrant Cloud Database. Some people like to use Pinecone Vector Database or Superbase Vector Database. I use in this occasion Quadrant, access to OpenAI API. You Google, I'm using a Google Drive, so I'll have to connect Google Drive. So once you log into your Anitin account, you're going to see all your current workflow automation. From there, create the workflow, and that's what you're going to see. So there's a blank canvas. First, we had a trigger. That'll be an app-based trigger. What that means is that once you have a new document you upload it into Google folder, and automatically detect. So let's find Google Drive. There's two options here. One is change to specific file, or one is on changes in moment and a specific folder. In our case, we will have changes happening on a specific folder. So if you make any changes to our folder, that means that we upload a new document. The system will automatically pick it up and push it through. If you haven't connected your Google Doc account, this will be the best time to connect. You'll have to go create a new credential. In this case, there's a couple of processes you have to follow to connect to Google Drive to Anitin. It's not as easy as make.com. But I have a video which I'll link somewhere in here where I'll take you guys through step-by-step process how to connect the Google Drive into Anitin. So from that, once you connect it, and then what I'll do, we'll find this specific folder. It's from here. In my case, that'll be YouTube demo. Watch for file created. Fetch test table. So far, let me check. So the reason it came back as an error because there's no sample file. So I will select a sample file. So try again. There you go. So we'll pin that. So what that means is that we don't have to access to that Google API every time we try to test. We just pin the data and with the same data to test. Set some fields. Oh. So you need to find the file ID, which is this one. The reason we're setting a file ID is because we put this file ID as a metadata which will go into the vector database. So then in the future, if you wanted to retrieve any information related to this particular file ID, where you might want to to update any particular document, then it'll be easier for us to search using that file ID. Once we set that, let's do test. Yeah, the file ID is coming through. Then the next test is the switch. The reason I'm using a switch is because there could be a few different type of documents you might put in the Google Drive. Like it could be a text document, it could be a PDF, it could be a Word document. In my case, it's a Google Doc. The process of extracting the text is a bit different. Yes, but it's not that difficult. I'll quickly show you. Let's rename this set file ID. And the switch. In terms of switch, what you're looking for in here is type. What type of document that is. So for Google Drive, if the type is equal to this, and it will follow a path, and we just say it's Google Doc. So it came through. From that, now we need to read the text. Because it's a Google Doc, I use Google Doc module. Okay, so remember we set a file ID, and we just put that in here. Test. Yes, I'm getting all that. This is a transcript. It's an actual transcript, which I had a discussion with one of my clients to understand their process. So it looks like it's coming through. So next, what we need to connect is we can interconnect the vector database. So in our case, we're using Quadrant. Add document to a vector store. We need to connect an equal draw. With Anitin, you only need to connect for once. Once you connect once, the next time you don't really have to connect again. But for our case, I'll show you how to connect this. So you click the new credential. You need two information. You need the API key and you need a Quadrant URL. Once you logged into your Quadrant vector store, you will see there's two options. One is a create free cluster or create a dedicated cluster. For our purpose to build the knowledge base for our brain, we use the free cluster. So what we do in here is we just cluster name. In my case, I just put a demo. In the free cluster, you get a 4 GB of space, RAM, 1 GB RAM, and then you get a half a CPU. Then you can choose to select your provider, which is either AWS or Google Cloud Platform, and then you choose to select the location. For me, I generally leave it blank, or you can change it to depends on an area closest to your location. I just leave it blank. It takes a few seconds to create the cluster. So let it run. And once it's created, this will change. While it's creating, just remember there's two things we need for here to connect the Quadrant vector store to with our agent is we need the endpoint URL, which is this, and the API key, which will generate after the cluster is created. Oh, so now cluster is ready. We can tell it by saying it is healthy. The next thing, we're going to create the API key. Create API key. Just you can put any name. By default, they give you API-key. I just leave it like that. And how many days do you want this API key to be active? I normally put 365 and then go create. Copy. Now we got to go back to our Anitin and connect with vectors. Once we've done that, what we'll do is we will come back to our cluster. Then we go to the open dashboard. To access the dashboard, you also need your API key again. So it's good to save the API key on a notepad so that you can access it. We'll go with quick start. We will create a collection. So the collection now will be start chart. You can change that. But the most important part is the size. In our case, we're going to do 1536 because that's the size is used by the OpenAI embedding model. If you don't do 1536, it's not going to work. So then what I'll do, we just to run. As soon as get OK, that means that our collection is created. Now we can link from our Anitin. We can actually connect it to this collection. So then we go back to console. We go back to collection. At the moment, you can see 0 because we haven't uploaded anything in here, any vector. So it's 0, but once you start uploading, you'll be able to start seeing all this in here. Now we go back to the Anitin. We do an add-in. We're going to do an embedding. I'm going to use the OpenAI embedding model. Text embedding too small. That's the most common one. And then we have to use a document uploader. Leave the setting as it is. We can use metadata. I remember we set file ID before and we use that figure. It means when the data get loaded to the vector database, it get basically chopped up in a small chunk and then get converted to vector. And what it'll do is it will include our file ID as a metadata. So if you wanted to search those data in the future using metadata, we can do so. Then we have to use a added text splitter. I normally use the recursive character text splitter. Don't have to change anything in here, just that's it. We can test the workflow. Based on the document we upload in the vector database is actually create 93 vector. If I wanted to go back and have a look at that, go back to my cluster, go back to my cluster, dashboard. This all the information has been uploaded and I can see that this is basically the transcription of that meeting. Then what I can do is simply we just put a limit just to 1, and then we can do Google Drive. So we can move the file. So then we use the Google Drive module, and then we use our file ID to move the folder to say a different folder. So that means that once the operation is finished, the file is going to move from that folder to a different folder. The reason we put a limit in here is that because it's outputting 93 items. If we don't put a limit in there, the Google Drive is going to run that 93 times. Obviously, once it's moved one time, the next time you won't be able to move the document, and that'll create an error. This is what the first stage of the process looks like. We can add multiple document types. So the easy way to do that is you go back to your folder, that the next one will be, like maybe just I use this one. This would be text, put in the folder. So the pin the document again. The file's extension is text. It does the same thing on the text. In the switch, we added the writing rule. So that'll be the first thing, then be file extension. And if it is text, output a text item. The text item, what you got to do is just got to extract from file, extract from text file. The reason it's not going to work, what we need to do is we need to put a download. We need to download as a binary file. Google Drive, download file, URL, and file ID. This time, and the file is downloaded. Now if you use the text extract, that will work. I can see something is outputted. So now the data text is outputted as a data, where we can kind of make a reference to the next one. Now what you're going to do is just connected that and test workflow. There you go. So now through this process, you can actually add a multiple step in the switch. Depends on the type of the documents you wanted to upload in your vector database. Now build the next part of the system. So now we're going to build the AI agent. To build that AI agent, first thing you need is we need a chat trigger. Leave like that. Just go chat trigger. Here you go. AI agent. Leave as it is. It's a tool agent connected to a chat trigger because our user input will come through as chat trigger. We don't need any specific output format because it could be anything, based on the question we ask. Need for the chat is we need a model. The model we can use is GPT, OpenAI chat model 4. I'm assuming your account is connected. Otherwise, I have a video where I show how to get an API key to connect your OpenAI models to Anitin. In this case, is for with this one GPT-4o. You need to select anything else in here. Memory for this one, we just use Windows buffer memory. And so what that means is that the model will use your Windows memory and it will remember up to 5 chat. You can actually, I think you can decide how many chat you want to remember. So by default, it's 5. But what will happen is that once you restart the computer, the AI agent will not going to have any kind of memory. It start fresh. To mitigate that, what you can do is you can use a Postgres chat memory, and this is a little bit more technical to set it up, but once you set it up, you can use it. In our case, we'll just use window buffer memory. In the tool, which is the most important tool, give the AI agent access to the quadrant vectors tool, which is in here. So the name is the name of your tool. I'll just say knowledge base has to be, it can't be separated. And the description is important because that's the agent when they need to use this tool. Then you need to select the collection. We've done that. We need to select an embedding model. It's really important to remember this. You have to use the same embedding model, which was text embedding 3 small. I believe our agent is ready, so we can test it now. So let's chat. So ask something. So what I did is I uploaded actually a meeting transcript between me and an actual client, where we had a walkthrough to understand their processes so that we can map out what are some of the things we can automate from the process. We talked about the carbon offset and carbon credit and how the process works. So I'm going to ask a questions around very specific to that meeting transcript. And we can see so based on my conversation with the car, so in high level, the project is reassessed every 12 months, and it gives us some bit more information about the project. The other thing what we can do is we can actually go to a chat trigger. Right, a sec. We need to activate this before we go to the chat trigger. Let's go to the chat trigger. There's actually a link where you can click where you get a web user interface where you can actually chat with us. Yeah, agents. So what that means is then you can actually connect this to your website or your SharePoint or wherever you're hosting your information is. So that's the end of the video. If you like this video, you might like some other video I have. I will export the workflow and share the link in the video description, and you can download and then simply import it into Anitin workflow and start using this second brain. Until next time, thanks for watching.